Welcome back, everyone. This is Tiger Stacker. This will be the third and final part of the interview with Delegate Chris Pritt. And before I go any further, I want to again put a big shout out to a pillar of our community, a man that deserves to be subscribed to, watched, and listened to on a regular basis because of his wisdom and his hard work and dedication to all of us in the stacking community. He's also the man who gave us the information that when I saw it, decided it was time for me to take this information further since I live in West Virginia and I want the rest of our nation to start following suit. So please, big shout out to Uncle Sal, Salivate Metals. If you haven't subscribed to him, you're missing out. Go see him, subscribe to him, watch him on a regular basis. You will learn a lot. One of the smartest men on YouTube. Thank you, Uncle Sal, for everything. And now, without further ado, let us get back to Delegate Chris Pritt and have him bring it all together about metals as money plus Article 5 of the US Constitution. Wow, that's certainly something I've never seen. I'm glad you said all that.
Okay.
I really am. I being a doctor, I don't see laws the way you do, and it's nice to actually see things from your shoes.
Sure. No, thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. So let me ask you some more questions here.
Sure.
What are your feelings about moving to metals in light of the Federal Reserve and Washington wanting to push central bank digital currencies, CBDCs?
Well, I think the idea of a central bank currency is a terrible idea. I mean, the idea of it, I can't imagine any kind of benefits to our country. I mean, I think that certainly when we've talked a lot today about individual liberties, I can't think of, there might be something out there, but I can't think of it that would be more detrimental to the long-term liberty interests of the people than a digital Federal Reserve currency. I mean, I'm of the opinion that I think we need to be moving away from the Federal Reserve system. I think one of the major tragedies of our country's history is, number one, going away from the gold standard. Number two, the allowing the Federal Reserve to have the power that it has. And there are plenty of people out there, maybe people who are watching and listening right now, that are opposed to what the Federal Reserve does. I think that they have acted contrary to the interests of the people of our country for decades now. And so just giving them more power and more of an ability to, number one, reduce our freedom, but number two, reduce our buying power. I think it's a terrible idea. I hope that does not gain any kind of traction going into the future. Certainly, to the extent that I can do something to keep that from happening, I'm going to do it. But again, I'm just a member of the West Virginia legislature. A lot of that is going to be done on the federal level. It's very, very important that folks stay engaged. They talk to their not only their state legislators, but their representatives in Congress, that they make clear to them that they are against any step towards a digital Federal Reserve currency. It's a terrible idea.
I agree. I see two issues right now that can possibly counteract the trend, and I think a lot of my listeners will probably agree. First of which is, and this would take a lot of political agreement, is to activate Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, Convention of States, to basically walk into Washington and say, we're fixing this. We've had enough. We're fixing this.
Absolutely.
The second is for the state. This one I think will be easier, and that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about West Virginia potentially being the fifth state. Is the states, because we have the Section 1, Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution about gold and silver,
That's already established centuries ago, where the states can say, we're not dealing with this CBDCs. We are going back to the Constitution. We are going to control our currency the way our forefathers said. Now, I think that one will be a whole lot easier for the states to tell the federal government no more. Article 5 is going to be a lot harder of a thing. So I'm going to shut up and let you do the talking, because you're the expert in all this than I am.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that in terms of us having an Article 5 convention. That's something that I have been really, really big on over the past few years. And actually, West Virginia, we were able to get through a resolution to get us. One of the things that you have to do to have an Article 5 convention is that you have to get 2/3 of the states to sign on to that. Now, since I've been in the legislature, we've done two separate ones of those. We have done one that is more limited to U.S. term limits. In other words, just to impose U.S. term limits. And then we've done a broader one through the Convention of States organization. And it's a little bit more broader than that. Not only would that convention encompass, for example, term limits for members of Congress, but it would also involve placing limits on the authority of the federal government and also a balanced budget amendment. So that would all be part of an Article 5 convention. West Virginia is one of the states that has passed that resolution. So, and that's been done since I've been here. So that's one of the things that I'm really proud that we were able to do something about. And actually, we were a part of just this past year. We were a part. I was one of the 3 individuals in the West Virginia legislature to go to Williamsburg, Virginia for a simulated convention. And so that was a chance for us to get together with the other folks that are involved with this movement to talk about ways in which we can place limits on the authority of the federal government. Now, I will say that if you talk to some individuals, I mean, people who are probably natural allies to me and you on a lot of issues, they are opposed to a convention. And a lot of the opposition to it is based on the idea that they think that there is going to be a runaway convention where all sorts of things would be proposed and it would just get out of control, and ultimately it would limit the rights of the people. I don't think that's going to happen. So if you look at what was passed out of the West Virginia legislature, it is very identical to other resolutions that have been passed in other states to participate in such a convention. And within the context of the resolution, there are specific limits that are placed on what can be even voted upon by a West Virginia delegation. So hypothetically, let's say we get enough states by the year 2026 or 2027, and a West Virginia delegation is sent by the legislature to the Article 5 convention, there would be strict limits on what we could actually vote on. Okay. It wouldn't be just some sort of free for all. That's not the case. In addition to that, one aspect of an Article 5 convention is that once it gets through the convention, not only do you have to get buy-in from 2/3 of the states, at that point, whatever comes out of the convention has to go back to the states, and then 3/4 of all states have to approve any kind of amendments that come out of the convention. So that's something that I think there are appropriate checks and balances that are put on any kind of convention that would result. But I think it's a great idea. We need to we are at a point where we need to take drastic measures to try to put some limits on the federal government and everything they've been doing to not only undermine our currency, but also do things that infringe upon the liberties of the citizenry.
Oh, I totally agree. Whether we're talking about gold and silver, or we're talking about, passing this rule and that rule to give free this and free that, it's all costing money. And
yes,
money we don't have. What are we, like 34 trillion in debt? That means what, like almost $1 million per family or per person that has to pay that. None of us have that. That's we are going in debt faster than we're earning. It's been that way for a while. And the tax and spend, you can't tax people enough to come up with that.
No.
So, and with the CBDCs, I see that as just another way for Big Brother to enslave us. And a lot of people do. So if they don't like what you do, they don't like what you say, they cut you off. And the money has a limit. The money's not really your money. They loan it to you for the work that you've done. It's not truly yours like it currently is. If they don't like who you vote for, they take it away. I mean, if you look at what happened with Trudeau up in Canada, um, cutting off the truckers and anyone associated with the truckers at that time, that was taking away their freedom to take care of their families, which was wrong. So
Yes.
CBDCs is just an easier way not only to control the citizenry, but also to inflate the digital dollar easier, faster, and with less expense to the Federal Reserve than currently producing paper dollars.
Yes.
And no one will know anything about it because you can't count digits in the computer world. That is a great way to hide the truth and a great way to enslave. So John Doe walks into a gun store who likes to collect guns and bullets. You can't have it. Well, I have a Second Amendment right. Yes, you do, but you're not allowed to use CBDCs. What a great way to bypass our constitutional rights.
Absolutely.
So I'm concerned, and so are many others. Well, so I'm going to get off of Bill 4532, and I'll bring up the topic of Bill 4582, which, as I understand, and please feel free to correct me, it is designed to empower the West Virginia treasurer to invest in gold and silver. Do you see it protecting West Virginia from the constant decline of the paper dollar, especially because the Federal Reserve can create money at their whim? And is this more of a reason to oppose the CBDCs?
Yes, I mean this bill 4582. It's a fairly simple bill, and it's just it. Oh, I'm looking at it here. It's 3 lines. It says the treasurer may invest in gold and silver, and these investments shall be done in accordance with the provisions otherwise set forth in this article. Okay, that's what it does. It just empowers the treasurer to invest in gold and silver. I mean, the treasurer, using our funds, invests in different things, all sorts of investments that are out there. This would empower the state treasurer to invest in gold and silver, and it would give him that authority. And I think that's a way that we can really protect the taxpayers. I mean, this is our government. It's whether we like it or not, whether it's the federal government or the state government, it is our government. And what this particular piece of legislation does is it empowers the treasurer, and hopefully we would have a treasurer who is prudent enough to consider investing in gold and silver. It doesn't require it. It doesn't require it. I mean, it's just like anything else that the treasurer does. A lot of times in terms of investments, that's done with a number of individuals who are trying to come up with a strategy in terms of what's going to be in the financial interest of the state. But nonetheless, it would empower the state treasurer to invest in gold and silver. And certainly we would hopefully have a treasurer who does the right thing and is prudent with our investments, but that's what it would do.
Okay. So would the state of West Virginia have made arrangements for a depository or repository that would be totally in control of the state?
I think that would be contemplated in the legislation, yes.
Okay. Because and you have to excuse me, I can't really wrap my head around what the difference between depository and repository, but I would assume that the state would want to make sure that there's checks and balances in there, so it's used for the people of West Virginia rather than mismanaged.
I would hope so.
Is there anything else? Because I've run out of my questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this?
I don't think so. I think it's just really, really important that everyone out there and especially individuals who are decision makers on this sort of thing, whether it's in state government or the federal government, is that we start making decisions that are consistent with the monetary interest of the American people. I think it's important that we take actions that send a message that we are serious about sound policy when it comes to our currency, that whether it's the state government or whether it's the federal government, that we take actions that are going to ensure that the long-term livelihood of our people and the long-term financial interests of the people are protected. And I think with bills like this, if we can build upon what other states have done, I think that's really going to push us in the right direction. I think it's going to send a message to the federal government that what they're doing and what they have done up to this point is not working, and what is in our best financial interests is being undermined by policies at the federal level. I think that one of the things that we can do as a state, and I would hope all states do this, is passing bills like this. Not only are they good policies, but they're a way for us to communicate to the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., and to the folks that are at the Federal Reserve and individuals in Congress, that there are better ways than what's been done up to this point. There are better ways that, in terms of our fiscal policy and our monetary policy. And if we can start going in the right direction when it comes to protecting our currency and protecting our standard of living, if they start taking that seriously, then I think the country as a whole is going to be much better.
I totally agree. Well, everyone, there you have it. West Virginia is seriously looking into becoming the 5th state to ratify gold and silver as money as per our Constitution. I want to thank you, Mr. Pritt, for taking your time from your busy schedule.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who are West Virginia voting residents, please call your West Virginia state delegate and state senators to push for passing these bills. West Virginia House Bill 4342 and 4582. I want to thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you, Mr. Pritt, for your time.
Absolutely.
God bless all of you. God bless West Virginia, and God bless America. I'll see you all in the next one. Tiger Stacker out.